Essential workers, those required to work during the mandatory quarantine despite the rampant and often lethal coronavirus outbreak. The standard definition of an essential employee is someone who performs work contributing to the safety of human life and the protection of property. The industries deemed too critical to be halted during this crisis include law enforcement, public safety, food production/distribution, healthcare, public transportation, and more. These individuals run the risk of not only getting infected themselves through constant interaction with the general public, but also risk unknowingly passing it to their loved ones. My name's Anthony Padilla, and today I'm going to be remotely sitting down with essential workers, specifically working in the food industry, to learn what it's like to risk everything to ensure people have sustenance for survival during this pandemic. Do essential workers receive proper protection and compensation for their efforts that help prevent society from potentially plunging into chaos? Or do they feel forced by their employers to work in hazardous and potentially lethal situations with an unlivable wage? Hello, Jacob.
Hi.
Allison. Kat.
Hi!
Thank you so much for coming on and teaching me about the wondrous world of essential workers.
Thank you for the opportunity.
So what would you consider yourself? An essential worker, a hero without a cape?
Essential worker, that's just what I've been calling myself.
I'm a physical laborer who works for an essential business.
Definitely an essential worker.
What does being an essential worker entail?
Mostly just going out and serving the community as best as you can during this difficult time.
We have to be there physically to get stuff done. We can't do our work remotely. We have to be in the store.
And what essential line of work do you do?
I work at Applebee's. I am a server, and right now we're just doing car side service.
I'm on the stock team, so when the trucks arrive, I unload the freight, and then from that point, I'm on the sales floor.
I am an assistant manager at a restaurant, and I also drive for.
And how long have you worked there?
I've worked at this Applebee's for a total of 1.5 years.
Since September, I moved here for school.
I've been doing since about June of last year.
When you found out that this pandemic was occurring, when you found out that there was a mandatory stay-at-home order, did you have any fear about your job and your security and holding on to that?
Yeah, definitely, because at first I wasn't entirely sure what an essential worker is. Did I really qualify as it?
And what was your reaction to finding out that you are considered essential?
Very relieved, because again, I like to, pay my bills, like to be able to eat every day.
Just a little sustenance every once in a while so I could survive. What extra safety precautions have you had to adopt at your workplace in order to feel safe during this pandemic?
Every hour on the hour, they're doing rounds, and every department is supposed to spray down and wipe down the high touch items, like the stuff on displays, the things that people, touch when they walk by.
We normally wear gloves when we're handling food and packaging it up, but when we're running it out to cars, we're putting it on a tray with gloves on. And we also have the option to wear a mask if we want to.
So you're basically ensuring that every single thing you touch will not be touched by the customer and vice versa.
Correct, yeah. When we hand them the food, it's on a platter, and they have to actually grab the bag themselves.
It seems like a nice presentation, if you ask me.
Oh yeah, you walk out to the car and you're all like...
You're like, would you take it, please, sir or madame? Is there ever any fear that the food that you're touching and distributing will be infected in any way?
We've been taking a lot of precautions, in the kitchen specifically, but there's definitely that fear of there could be one slip up and it just could all go downhill from there.
Do you think essential workers have the rights and the protection they need in order to feel safe in the workplace?
Not entirely. There are some, fields and some businesses that are able to provide their employees with hazard pay or paid time off, even if you don't think you have the virus, go ahead and just in case. Some of it's being introduced too little too late.
For wages, my company's been pretty good. They decided to give us minimum wage on top of tips, but a lot of restaurants I know aren't doing that.
Right, because that could be as low as $3 an hour otherwise, right?
My hourly wage, I think right now before quarantine was $3.67, and now it's $9.65 or something like that.
So it's almost a 300% increase.
In one paycheck, I'm making as much as I would working 2 weeks there. So it's just a big difference for us as employees.
And that makes you feel a little bit more motivated and at least to know that this is money that you can potentially save, maybe put toward health insurance and things like that.
Oh, for sure.
Do you feel any fear while working at your job?
It does kind of come and go and is evoked by who's around me, how many people are around me. If it's a busy point in the store and there are lots of people passing through, if I have to squeeze by somebody in an aisle, that's not 6 feet.
You have to show up to work every day knowing that someone that you interact with could be infected and they could just straight up not respect the 6 feet away policy and get near you when you're not paying attention.
Really, the scariest thing about going to work isn't the people I work with, it's not the policies that are in place right now, it's the behavior of the general public.
Do you think your job should be considered essential?
Yeah, they need people to put things on the shelves because the farmers are still coming in to buy things. So these hands are essential at this point.
You're helping the farmers keep their farms alive in all respects of the term.
Yeah, we're helping keep the animals alive and stuff, but I think when you consider the whole supply and demand, there's a whole other end of the chain that's not being filled that's really killing the farmers too.
My friends have actually told me, hey, why are you out? This is stupid. But there's people that out there that can't go to the grocery store. They're immunocompromised. They can't expose themselves to hundreds of people versus me, just one person. Like, they can expose themselves to me and risk that versus going out to people in the grocery store.
Ordering food from a restaurant may be a luxury and a privilege for some people, but certain other people really don't have any other means to feel safe doing anything else other than just that.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Before we learn more about the wondrous world of essential workers, I just want to take a quick moment to say that 100% of profits made from this video will be donated to Feeding America, who launched their COVID-19 Response Fund, a national food and fundraising effort to support people facing hunger and the food banks who help them. Donations made to Feeding America go toward their efforts in building an inventory of emergency food boxes to distribute to food banks across the country and safely continuing their distribution of essential household items like cleaning supplies, diapers, and personal care products. I'll include a link to Feeding America's website in the description box below for more information. And to everyone staying home, practicing social distancing, and taking this quarantine seriously, thank you for doing your part in ensuring we make it through this as painlessly as possible, for your health and for everyone around you. And on a side note, we received so many incredible video submissions and so much excitement from essential workers all around America and the world. I'll be doing another episode next week covering those doing essential work in travel, specifically airlines, delivery, and funeral services. That's all I wanted to say. Now back to learning about the wondrous world of essential workers. Do you feel appropriately recognized and compensated for the work that you do?
They have started giving us some semblance of hazard pay, and they increased our store discount for employees, and they're allowing us to extend that to friends and family as well. We can wear jeans on the weekends. Yeah, it's not that my Canadian tuxedo is gonna save me from coronavirus,
but you'll be more comfortable.
But it's also not a precaution, it's just an incentive to come to work.
What are your thoughts on the proposed Heroes Fund, which would essentially give a hazard pay to essential workers, which kind of rounds out to about $25,000 in bonus salary?
I feel like as a community of essential workers, as they're calling us, I think we're entitled to that. And I hate to use that word because I don't like thinking of privilege and all of that, but I'm no better than anybody else during this time. I mean, there's people that are unemployed that have no choice, but there's definitely that factor of I'm out here risking my health, my well-being to serve people.
Is there anything else you wish the government would be doing to help essential workers?
Like the stimulus check that everybody's getting, I think that should either be a higher amount or it should be more often, because we don't know how long this is going to last. We don't know how long our basic bills are going to be affected by this, how long some of us are going to be out of work.
And one $1,200 check is great, but that might only get them by for a month when there are potentially 6 to, God, who knows, 18 months of this in our future. How do you feel about some cynical people suggesting that we should have no sympathy for essential workers because they knew what they were getting themselves into when they signed up for the job, and they don't have to work there if they don't want to?
No, I didn't know what I was getting into. If you wanted to play devil's advocate, it's not like I'm gonna be punished for not coming to work at this point per policy. So I guess every time I clock in, I do know what I'm getting into. You're right. But then again, like, there's nothing about this that's business as usual. This is business during a pandemic. We're acknowledging the pandemic in every single way.
And as you mentioned, you have student debt and whatnot. You have to be able to pay these things off.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I had to pay for rent too at the same time. That's fun.
Does any part of you fear that coming onto the show and talking in front of so many viewers could potentially have any kind of consequences from your employer?
I mean, no, I'm not using the company name. I'm speaking based off of observation. And to be honest, they've changed their policies appropriately as the pandemic has evolved.
I mean, that crossed my mind. Like, when I first found out that I was on here, I was like, oh, maybe I should call my job. And then I was like, no. I mean, they know that they've treated me well. I know that they've treated me well.
As much as like we can censor the names and everything, there's still like people in my social circle on like Twitter or Snapchat, whatever, they're still gonna know where I work. So I could be potentially risking a lot. I don't know.
Why did you want to come onto this show knowing that it could potentially risk the work that you have, the essential work that you're already almost in a sense fighting to keep?
I don't think a lot of people consider it from the essential workers side. They don't necessarily understand how much is, riding on them both financially and like mentally.
If there's anyone watching who's an essential worker and is feeling fear surrounding waking up every morning knowing they have to go into work and put themselves at risk, is there anything that you'd want to say to them?
Don't feel guilty about being scared when you're at work and feeling some sort of anxiety. That means that you're taking it seriously and that you're in touch with your reality. You have that insight, you're taking the steps.
It feels like having anxiety when you are safe is beneficial. You got to give yourself a break every once in a while from that anxiety.
Value your you time outside of work then. When you clock in, you can go into war zone mode. But when you clock out, go home, take a bath, do some yoga.
Just a little self-care here and there, just sprinkle it out. Yeah.
The main thing that I've been trying to focus on that's been really helpful is just telling myself, hey, this is for the greater good. Even though you feel like maybe your job won't be essential at this time, you're still going to make a difference no matter what.
What's the most heartwarming thing you've experienced while working during this outbreak?
It definitely sounds selfish, but big tips.
Big tips. That's one way to warm your heart. Just throw some money at me.
We do have a lot of part-time, like semi-retired workers that are a little bit older. And while a lot of them have stopped coming to work because they know that they're at risk, there are some that haven't. And it's cute because some of the older ladies who have, their old Singer sewing machines are volunteering to make masks for everyone on the team and stuff. And that's so sweet.
2 weeks ago, I had a older woman. I saw her pull up, so I brought her food out, and she looks at me and she's like, "You are just so brave." Like, it was just so genuine. And then she handed me a $10 bill, and I was like, "Oh, thanks." And it was it's really heartwarming when somebody actually expresses their gratitude towards you.
What's the most bizarre experience that you've had while working during this pandemic?
It was like 10 minutes or something before his shift was out, and we had just gotten a skew of toilet paper in, and it was going fast. There probably wasn't going to be any left by the time he was clocking out. So he took a package of toilet paper and hid it somewhere else in the store so that when he clocked out, he could buy it.
That's when you know times are dire.
Yeah.
What kind of long-term effects do you think this pandemic is going to have on society as a whole?
There's going to be some changes to social norms, like shaking hands. I've been thinking about this a lot. I don't know as if people will be doing that anymore as much.
Is it going to be a lot of bowing? Are we just going to adopt Japanese behaviors?
Can we bring back the curtsy and bow? I think that's great.
Yeah, I'm into that.
But yeah, I think that we're definitely going to be more aware of what we touch and who we interact with.
I feel like wearing medical masks is going to become a social norm in all Western culture. It's already a norm in Asia, and it's been that way for a very long time, but I feel like maybe the whole world will adopt that.
Look where we are now. Everybody's wearing masks.
It's mandatory in many states. Whenever I go out, like to the grocery store, for example, you're not allowed in if you don't have a mask.
I get it. You got to do it.
What's the first thing you're going to do when this pandemic is no longer considered a pandemic, when this quarantine is lifted and when you feel like it's safe to go out and continue to a normal life.
The first day that the safer at home order was in place in Wisconsin was actually my birthday. So I'm gonna have a birthday party. Yeah, thank you.
But hopefully you're not celebrating 2 birthdays at once by that point.
Don't even say that. That's so sad.
I mean, you're gonna only celebrate 1. Don't worry, you're good.
Right. Okay.
I think I'm gonna go to Menards.
You're just gonna go to a home improvement store?
Yeah, I mean, okay.
On a blunt note, I would drive 2 hours away and make out with my partner.
What do you think the biggest misconception is about essential workers?
Even though you feel like our purpose has not been deemed important, somebody else might be relying on that. It's almost like you don't need a wheelchair, but somebody else might need a wheelchair.
Right. It's very applicable to certain people.
Oh, for sure.
And you can't assume that just because it doesn't affect you, just because you don't deem it essential, that it's not essential for someone else.
100%.
I actually have a parting gift for you, a Best Interviewer shirt, which you could get at padildoshop.com, but we will ship this to you for free.
Yes.
Assuming that you're okay with the potential lag in deliveries and you will take proper precautions in handling this package.
Yes, it will be washed, it will be sanitized, and it will be worn with pride.
All right, you got 5 seconds to shout out or promote anything you want directly into camera. Go.
I'm gonna place way down, Twitter and Instagram, and listen to my roommate Starship Mafia on SoundCloud.
Follow me on TikTok at It's Jacob Not Jake 1, and please stay home, but also go vote.
At patientprovidercommunication.org, there are free, downloadable, printable communication boards for anyone with an impairment who could use that.
What are you doing not subscribing to Anthony Padilla? He's just the best.
My name's Anthony Padilla and I approve this message. After spending the day with these essential workers in the food industry, I've learned just how much they put their safety on the line in order to ensure people are fed and society continues to function. We should absolutely recognize and show these workers the utmost respect for stepping up to a challenge not many would feel comfortable taking on themselves. Please, for the safety of yourself and everyone around you, practice social distancing and stay home during this pandemic unless absolutely necessary. See you later, bye guys.
Press a like.
Because everybody's stimulus checks were hitting their bank accounts, so they're just ordering food and going out and being crazy. I'm like, you don't need to be here. Like, you can spend your money on something else. Fix your house, like fix your car. I don't know.
People are using the stimulus checks to party and to get Applebee's.
Yep.
Nice.
The essentials.
All the essentials.
Yep. Got to get those 25-cent boneless wings.